we're going to have to push the Senate. 4 or 5 Republican senators, you'll have to explain them to me, but we're not going to get into that.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. So what we have here is President Trump sending a clear warning to Senator John Thune and the rest of the RINOs in the Senate. And here I have a True Social post to show you where President Trump is saying terminate the filibuster and win President Donald J. Trump. And the president is making this statement all because these RINOs, they're standing in the way of the president and his agenda. And now we have more and more Democrats coming out saying that when they gain power, they'll nuke the filibuster to pack the Supreme Court and make Washington, D.C. and Puerto Rico a state. And this is causing mass panic on the right, all because Senator John Thune, he's failing to do his job to pass the Save America Act, to nuke the filibuster, and pass the legislations that are popular with the American people, to do what the American people elected Republicans to do. And here we have President Trump calling out these RINOs in the Senate and calling on the Senate to do its job. Play clip.
I really am. That's how bad it is. And we're going to have to push the Senate because you have 4 or 5 senators that are, I don't know, 4 or 5 Republican senators. You'll have to explain them to me, but we're not going to get into that. But we're going to push them to get it done because I don't think you can politically exist if you're not going to do voter ID and these things. I don't think the people in this country will stand for it. So I'm making my biggest plea tonight. It'll make you, and I'm not doing it for this reason at all. It'll guarantee the midterms. It'll guarantee the midterms. If you don't get it, big trouble, my opinion. If you get this, your midterms, and they know it. For 2 reasons. Number 1, they won't be able to cheat. And number 2, the people are demanding it. Every time I go out, Save America, sir, Save America Act. We want the Save America Act, sir. That's all they talk about. They don't talk about housing. They don't talk about anything. That's what they talk about. And if you send it up there, you're going to win the midterms at levels that you can't even believe. And you're going to win every election for a long time until somebody really screws things up, and hopefully that won't happen.
That was President Trump making the case for the Save America Act and to nuke the filibuster. And at this point, I do sound like a broken record because we've been advocating for the Save America Act for months. And the American people, they've been asking for this for a long time, ever since the Republicans, they came back into office. And we have RINOs that are refusing to give the American people what they voted for. We know initially they try to work with Democrats, and they try to blame Democrats, but we know the Democrats, they're never going to vote for the Save America Act. So it's up to the Republicans in the Senate for them to actually do what is necessary to pass this bill. And here we have President Trump making it clear to RINO Thune and Republicans in the Senate that if Democrats, they should take back the House and the Senate, that they'll eventually nuke the filibuster and destroy this country. Play clip.
If I thought that they weren't going to pass the filibuster, I wouldn't even bring it up. They're going to pass it within the first hour, if they take power, and it's more likely that they take power if we don't do it, because we're not going to be passing any legislation. They're not going to approve anything. We're going to go 3.25 years. There won't be one bill that we're going to pass, because the easiest thing to pass is exactly right now what they won't pass. And they'll do that, and they'll wreak havoc. But let's assume they get in. They're doing it anyway, so it wouldn't matter. They're doing it anyway. And, you know, I have a case where I have great U.S. attorneys that can't be approved because of the blue slips. The blue slips, I think you should terminate blue slips, too.
That was President Trump sending a clear warning to Republicans that if Democrats should regain control, what they'll do, they'll eventually nuke the filibuster. And the president brought up a good point because he mentions that Republicans aren't really passing any laws, which is true, because we know the president have been signing executive orders. But at the end of the day, if there should be a Democrat president, what that Democrat president will do is overturn all these executive orders. So what the Senate and the House needs to do, they need to turn these executive orders into laws. And the only way they can do that is to nuke the filibuster, because we know Democrats are not willing to work with Republicans. And here we have Hakeem Jeffries, a Democrat, the leader of the Democrats in the House, pretty much threatening to expand the Supreme Court if they should regain power. Play clip.
In the new Congress, we're going to have to do something about this Supreme Court. And let me be very clear. Everything is on the table. Everything to deal with this corrupt MAGA majority that is issuing political opinions that are designed to bolster the prospects of the Republican Party and we will not allow them to succeed.
That was Hakeem Jeffries, the leader of the Democrats, the minority leader in the House, pretty much threatening to expand the Supreme Court. And it's not the first time they've been floating this idea, because they've been trying to do it for years. And the Supreme Court made a ruling the other day in regards to gerrymandering and redistricting, where the Supreme Court said, hey, you cannot gerrymander, you cannot redistrict, you cannot create these districts based on race. That is illegal. And now these Democrats, they're throwing a fit, and now they're threatening to expand the Supreme Court. And to show you exactly what I'm talking about, here we have Ilhan Omar, the Somalia-born politician. She's giving a history lesson on the courts, on the Supreme Court, and trying to make the case as to why the Supreme Court needs to be expanded. Play clip.
Lastly, Congress can change the number of justices on the court at any time, and has done so 7 times throughout our history. Since 1989, the last time the court was expanded, the U.S. population has grown by over 800%. Yet the court has stayed stagnant at 9 justices. In the face of a stolen seat, a sitting justice implicated in a coup attempt, and a dangerous crisis of legitimacy, this common sense reform should absolutely be at the table.
That was Ilhan Omar giving a history lesson on the Supreme Court and trying to make the case as to why it needs to be expanded. And let me know what you think in the comment section in regards to Ilhan Omar essentially giving the American people a history lesson on this matter. And do you think she's qualified to essentially make such statement? And here we have another Democrat, Jamie Raskins, making the case as to why the Supreme Court needs to be changed. Play clip.
Can you envision a future Supreme Court dominated by appointees by a Democratic president reversing this kind of ruling?
Well, perhaps, but the damage is going to be done for a long time. And obviously, we're going to have to try to transform the way the Supreme Court has been gerrymandered itself and stacked and packed with MAGA appointees.
I don't understand the argument that he's trying to make as to why the court needs to be transformed, because he's trying to make the claim that the court has been gerrymandered to reflect MAGA or to be MAGA, which is completely false, because the court has ruled against President Trump more recently regarding tariffs. What he's doing here, he's trying to make the justification as to why they want to essentially expand the Supreme Court so it reflects the woke ideology of the Democrat Party. But fortunately, some Republicans understand what the Democrats are trying to do, and here we have Representative Chip Roy from Texas calling on the Senate to actually nuke the filibuster, to get rid of the filibuster, to go back to the talking filibuster, the original filibuster, to actually get things done in the Senate. Play clip.
We're actually passing good legislation, and the Save America Act is a perfect example of it. Where the hell's the Senate? I mean, again, the greatest deliberative body in the world. When are they deliberating? That's what I want to know, because the House is doing its job. So you guys want to, try to stir things up over here. We're getting the stuff done. Yeah, it's hard work, but it's a 2 or 3 seat majority, and we're all working hard to do it.
That was Representative Chip Roy calling on the Senate to actually start working for the American people. And he's completely right, because the American people gave Republicans a majority in the House, the Senate, and the White House. And come next voting season, if the American people cannot justify the results that Republicans have been producing, then they're just not going to vote for them. Either they're going to vote for someone else or just not vote at all. And it only makes sense. It's like you're paying someone to do a job. If they're not doing it, would you continue to pay them? And the answer is no. It is the same thing. And here we have a video to show you, because now people are actually going out and campaigning against Senator John Thune and all the candidates that he's supporting. Play clip.
Senate Majority Leader Thune, we the people of South Dakota, especially here in Sioux Falls, we demand the Save America Act. Let's go!
And that brings us to the end of today's video. Please let me know what you think in the comment section below. Also, please consider liking, sharing, commenting, and subscribing, and I'll see you in the next one.